Okay, so you just did your Nearpod and thinking about attributions, it's huge, teacher attributions and student. Now we're talking about stability, but less so in the way of attributions and more so in the personal side. Like, am I emotionally stable right now? So obviously this influences learning, and learning is accelerated when our students are emotionally stable. And so I want you to just think about a moment when emotional instability affected your classroom learning. One example being the day that we found out basically that classes were canceled because of COVID-19. I still had to go to class, stats class that evening, and I feel like I didn't hear one thing he said. I was just an anxious mess, and I I didn't learn a damn thing in that class. And so you're just thinking about how your emotional instability is really affecting the way you're intaking your content. And so, how can we enhance emotional stability in our learners? Um, and so, we're going to talk about this more when we get into emotional intelligence too. But just to give you a preview situation um, and kind of thinking about what does this look like in a real case scenario, and I do this a lot for you guys. So here's a student. This actually happened in my class. Cameron has tried his very best on an essay. He put his heart and soul into it. Unfortunately, he receives a rubric score of 3 out of 10. His teacher knows that I changed the grade. Up until 7th grade, he has been a constant behavior problem and has spent most of his time in the office missing instruction. Cameron believes he tried his best, so he deserves an A. The teacher must have been wrong, or whoever scored it doesn't like him. All right, so take a minute, pause me to identify what is the achievement that happened, success or fail. To what did the student attribute his success or failure? And what has been the emotional stability? Maybe not in this moment. You can think about it in the moment. How's he feeling? Probably. Or what has been the stability coming up to this moment? Pause me and go ahead. Identify those things. All right, hopefully you identified these things. I'm guessing some of you just kept going. But yes, the achievement is that he basically failed. He attributed to the test being wrong or a teacher not liking him. Um, and then stability, he's been a constant behavior problem, so you can tell his emotions have not been very stable. And so when you're thinking about how did emotions play a part in this, you can tell that he was really motivated. He was feeling good and he tried his best, right? However, when he gets the grade back, it's like his dreams have been crushed. And it's hard for students when this happens, and that overconfidence comes into play when they didn't think this. It's important that they understand where they are in terms of where they need to be. And so when you're thinking about supporting, oh, I did the wrong name. I didn't change the slide. It was Amari. I just changed it to Cameron. So when you're thinking about how can I support this learner? So first of all, I remember, because this kind of did happen in my class, the first thing I could say, because we had such a strong relationship, me and the student, it definitely wasn't because the teacher who scored it doesn't like him. So that was easy, and I could eliminate that attribution. And then the test, I talked about how everyone got this test. Every student got this test. And here you are in terms of everyone else. Not to make him feel bad, but to show him a picture of why this is an equitable test. And so I could very easily kind of show him why these attributions aren't necessarily realistic. And what we need to be talking about is how your past behavior has affected your success here. And so when you're supporting the student, you want to have that balance of love and care, but also that demander piece, that strictness, where it's like, listen, bud, like, you can't expect to be this out of the room and still be doing very well on your tests. And so, we talked through realistic attributions. I kind of showed him not like, everyone's over here and you're here. I just showed him like basically kind of like where other students were and how, yeah, you need to do some work to pick up the slack, bud. And we set goals for his next steps, small goals, which we've talked about with self-efficacy. And of course, I validated his efforts. I think like every other sentence was, I know you did your best. I'm so proud of you for trying so hard, but blah, blah, blah. But I know that you worked amazing and I hope that you keep that, but blah, blah, blah. So there's that balance. And so just going into emotional intelligence now, more strategies to help. This is an awesome quote. So anyone can become angry. That's easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not as easy. Aristotle. So just let that sink in. I wish I had a podcast that I had listened to literally on being angry and when it works and is helpful and when it's not helpful. And so anger has power when it's used correctly and when it's used logically. So when I think about my classroom, I was rarely angry with my students, but when I was, it mattered. It meant that something really important happened that caused my emotions to become angry. And so it was rare, but when I got angry in my classroom, the classroom became like stoic, like it was silent, and students were like, oh, like Miss P is angry. And usually when I was mad, I cried too, because that's what my emotions do. However, when you go into another room and a teacher's always yelling, or a teacher's always just like got this bad disposition, she's always mad, or him, it's like it doesn't have that power. And so, and when I got angry, it was because of something that was equitable, So when we're thinking about emotional intelligence, it's like we're learning how to use our anger for good and also everything else that goes into that. So it's a type of social intelligence that involves the ability to monitor one's own and others' emotions, to discriminate among those emotions, and to use this to guide your thinking and action. So emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Like it's metacognition to a T. It's like you do something and you can automatically reflect like, should I have done that? What will I do next? And how can I change what the results were, right? Emotional intelligence is huge for our students because when they don't have it, they're not self-regulating. So this subsumes Gardner's inter and intra-personal intelligences. So also helping learners to distinguish, is this person's reaction because of me or just because of them? So that's that inter. And then when you're thinking about your own reactions, it's the intra-intelligence that you have. And this is a really great view on intelligence. I had students who may have been, C or B students, but my one, Kimani, he was just. So this goes into the next slide that I'm going to talk about. So I want you guys to look at this picture and answer the question on the Nearpod and tell me what this picture means in terms of the classroom.